The warning came on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. Humanity's first detection of an alien spacecraft wasn't through radio signals or distant observations, but through the desperate mayday of a ship falling apart in our solar system. The vessel, massive and organic-looking, tumbled past Mars with its hull breached in multiple places, trailing a plume of crystalline debris that glittered in the sunlight. Dr. Elena Santos watched from mission control as the first clear images came through from the Mars orbital platforms. 20 years of searching for extraterrestrial life, and now it literally came crashing into our cosmic backyard. The ship's design defied conventional engineering. It looked almost grown rather than built, with sweeping lines that reminded her of coral formations. "Multiple life signs detected," announced her colleague, Dr. James Chen, his voice steady despite the historical magnitude of the moment. "Their life support systems are failing. At their current trajectory, they'll either burn up in our atmosphere or crash into the Pacific in approximately 6 hours." The UN Security Council convened an emergency session, but Elena knew they'd waste precious hours debating while lives hung in the balance. She made her decision, knowing it might end her career or change human history. "This is Dr. Elena Santos, acting under emergency protocols of the International Space Agency. I'm authorizing immediate rescue operations." She turned to her team. "Get the orbital platforms ready. We're going to catch them." The next 5 hours showcase humanity at its finest. Space agencies worldwide coordinated with unprecedented speed. The Chinese space station adjusted its orbit to establish first contact. The European Space Agency redirected satellites to create a communication network. NASA and Roscosmos worked together to calculate trajectory corrections. When the alien ship finally stabilized in Earth orbit, humanity got its first look at the meridians. They were beautiful and terrifying. Tall, crystalline beings that seemed to shimmer with internal light. Their translator struggled with Earth languages, but their message was clear. They were refugees, fleeing from something called the Vox Imperium. "They hunt us," the Meridian leader, who called herself First Light Dancing, explained through the hastily adapted translation system. "We refuse to submit to their perfect order. We are the last free ship of our people." The images she shared showed their civilization's fall. The Vox Imperium was a coalition of species united under a rigid philosophy of enforced harmony. They saw the Meridians' crystalline biology and natural ability to share thoughts and memories as a resource to be controlled. When the Meridians refused to join willingly, the Imperium decided to take what they wanted by force. "We didn't expect to find anyone who would help us," First Light Dancing communicated, her crystalline form pulsing with colors that the translation software suggested indicated both hope and fear. "Your world is beautiful, but your technology, you cannot stand against them if they follow us here." Elena looked at the data they'd shared about the Imperium's capabilities. The Meridian was right. Earth's most advanced weapons would be like bringing spears to a nuclear war. But as she watched the refugees being carefully transferred to a hastily prepared quarantine facility, she saw something in their crystalline eyes that she recognized. The desperate hope of those who had risked everything for freedom. "We don't abandon people who need help," Elena said firmly, speaking not just as a scientist, but as a human being. "Not even if they're from another star." The decision would prove costly. Within weeks, the first Vox Imperium probes appeared at the edge of the solar system. Their demands were transmitted in perfect English, suggesting they'd been studying humanity for longer than anyone had suspected. Surrender the Meridian refugees, or face the consequences. Earth's response was equally simple: no. As Elena watched the first Imperium ships appear on long-range sensors, she knew humanity had just picked a fight with a civilization centuries ahead of them technologically. But looking at the Meridian refugees working alongside human scientists, sharing their knowledge freely in gratitude for Earth's protection, she saw something the Imperium had never considered: the power of willing cooperation between different species, each bringing their unique perspectives to solve problems in new ways. The Meridians could share memories and thoughts through their crystalline biology. Humans had centuries of experience thinking outside the box and adapting to overcome superior forces. Together, they might just have a chance to prove that compassion wasn't weakness. It was evolution's greatest innovation. As the first reports of Imperium fleet movements came in, Alina smiled. Humanity had made its choice. Now they would show the galaxy exactly what that meant. The Vox Imperium's ultimatum gave Earth 3 months to surrender the Meridian refugees. They likely thought it was generous. Time enough for the primitive humans to come to their senses and avoid annihilation. They didn't understand that they had given humanity its greatest weapon: time to prepare. In an underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Elena Santos watched as Meridian crystals merged with human quantum computers. First Light Dancing's crystalline form pulsed with excitement as the hybrid technology came online. "Your silicon processors are crude compared to our living crystals," she communicated, "but the way you use them, we never imagined such applications." That was the key difference between humans and the Imperium. Where they saw the Meridians as resources to be harvested, humanity saw them as partners. The refugees' crystalline biology could store and process information in ways that defied conventional physics, but they had always used these abilities in predictable, traditional ways. Humans, with their constant drive to push boundaries, saw possibilities the Meridians had never considered. "Your species thinks sideways," First Light Dancing observed, watching human engineers experiment with crystalline structures. "Where we see limits, you see doorways." The innovations came rapidly. Meridian crystals, properly cultivated and integrated with human AI systems, could create quantum entanglement fields. The Imperium used similar technology for faster-than-light communication. But humans, drawing on centuries of unconventional warfare, saw something else: a way to disrupt the enemy's neural networks. Around the world, other collaborations yielded similar breakthroughs. In Bangalore, scientists combined Meridian biocrystalline growth patterns with human nanotechnology. In Lagos, researchers found ways to use crystalline structures to enhance electromagnetic shielding. Each discovery was shared globally. Humanity had learned that survival required unity. But the Imperium wasn't idle. Their scout ships probed Earth's defenses, testing responses. Each encounter revealed more about humanity's technological state, or so they thought. Alina's team had learned to mask their advances, using older technology as a screen while they prepared their true defenses. The cost was immense. Earth's economy had been completely reorganized for war preparation. Resources were rationed, industries redirected. Children practiced emergency drills while their parents worked double shifts in newly converted defense facilities. The entire human race was betting everything on their ability to innovate faster than the Imperium could overwhelm them. 2 months into the ultimatum, they had their first real test. An Imperium destroyer, apparently acting alone, breached the outer system defenses. It was clearly intended as a show of force, expected to easily overwhelm Earth's primitive defenses. Instead, it encountered something unprecedented. The destroyer's initial scans showed exactly what they expected: a handful of chemical rockets and crude energy weapons. But when they opened fire, their energy beams encountered crystalline shields that didn't just block them. They absorbed and redirected the energy. The destroyer's crew had moments to realize their mistake before their own weapon's energy was turned back against them, amplified by human ingenuity and Meridian crystalline technology. The ship retreated, badly damaged. Alina knew it would report back to the Imperium fleet, but that was part of the plan. Let them come expecting one thing, only to find another. It was a strategy as old as warfare itself, but one the rigidly thinking Imperium seemed incapable of anticipating. "They will come with everything now," First Light Dancing warned, her crystalline form dimming with concern. "They cannot allow others to see that they can be resisted." Helena nodded, watching the Global Defense Network's status reports. Crystalline processors were coming online across the planet and in orbital platforms. Manufacturing facilities were running at full capacity, producing weapons that combined the best of both species' technologies. Humanity had spent 3 months learning, adapting, and preparing. "We're counting on it," Alina replied. "Sometimes the only way to change a bully's behavior is to stand up to them. We may not be ready for a prolonged war, but we don't need to be. We just need to show them that the cost of enforcing their perfect order is higher than they're willing to pay." As she spoke, long-range sensors detected multiple Imperium ships entering the solar system. The main fleet had arrived early, probably hoping to catch Earth off guard. Instead, they would find a planet transformed. Humanity had spent 3 months not just preparing defenses, but fundamentally changing what they were capable of. The Vox Imperium was about to learn why humans had thrived on a planet that constantly tried to kill them. They adapted, they innovated, and most importantly, they never ever fought alone. The Meridian's knowledge combined with human creativity had created something entirely new, and the galaxy was about to witness its unveiling. The Vox Imperium's first wave hit like a tsunami of light and energy. Their ships, sleek crystalline arrows larger than cities, tore through space with weapons that could shatter moons. They expected to find a primitive world cowering behind crude defenses. Instead, they found humanity waiting. From her position in the Lunar Command Center, Dr. Alina Santos watched the battle unfold across multiple holographic displays. The crystalline interface, a merger of Meridian biology and human technology, showed the combat in 4 dimensions, predicting movement patterns seconds before they occurred. Multiple capital ships approaching Mars' defense line. The AI announced, its voice a harmony of human and Meridian tones. Targeting solutions acquired. The Imperium ships moved in perfect formation, their tactics honed by centuries of unopposed victories. That was their first mistake. Perfection meant predictability, and humanity had spent 3 months studying their every move. "Execute Protocol Hydra," Alina commanded. Across the solar system, humanity's true defenses revealed themselves. The seemingly primitive satellites and space stations transformed, crystalline structures blooming like flowers made of light and metal. Each platform carried a hybrid weapon system that the Meridians had helped design but had never imagined possible. Quantum entanglement disruptors merged with human electromagnetic warfare technology. The first Imperium ship to enter range fired a beam that could have split Earth in half. Instead, the energy dispersed across a crystalline shield network, its power feeding back into humanity's defensive grid. The Imperium commander must have been shocked to see their most powerful weapons not only blocked, but absorbed and repurposed. They're adapting their attack pattern. First, Light Dancing observed, her crystalline form pulsing with tactical data. But they're still thinking linearly. Alina nodded. The Imperium's response to failure was to do the same thing with more force. They couldn't comprehend that brute force wasn't the answer. Humanity's defense strategy didn't rely on matching their power. It focused on turning that power against them. The battle spread across the solar system. Imperium ships found their perfect formations disrupted by gravitational anomalies created by hybrid human Meridian technology. Their communication networks, based on quantum entanglement, encountered human cyber warfare algorithms that turned their own crystalline processors into weapons against them. But humanity wasn't winning. Not yet. For every Imperium ship disabled or driven back, another took its place. Earth's defensive grid was holding, but the strain showed in burning satellites and overloaded power systems. They needed something more. Direct hit on Platform 7, the AI reported. Crystal matrix failing. Alina watched as one of their major defensive platforms began to break apart. The Imperium would see it as a weakness to exploit. They'd concentrate their forces there, looking to punch through Earth's defenses. It was exactly what she'd been waiting for. "Execute Protocol Perseus," she ordered. The debris from Platform 7 didn't drift away as expected. Instead, it coalesced, the crystalline fragments combining with nanomachines to form something new. The Imperium ships moved in, weapons charged, and found themselves surrounded by a swarm of autonomous drones, each one combining meridian crystal technology with human eye. Impossible. The Imperium commander's transmission cut through their tactical frequencies. These primitives couldn't have mastered crystal integration so quickly. You're right, Elena transmitted back. We didn't master it. We reinvented it. That's what you never understood about humanity. We don't just copy technology. We transform it. The drone swarm demonstrated this principle in devastating fashion. They moved in patterns that defied conventional space combat doctrine, using gravitational fields in ways the Meridians had never considered. Each drone was relatively weak, but they worked in perfect concert, their human eye adapting tactics in real time while their crystalline structures channeled and amplified energy in ways that shouldn't have been possible. The Imperium fleet's perfect formation began to break apart. Ships designed for large-scale combat found themselves swarmed by opponents too small and numerous to target effectively. Their rigid command structure, used to giving orders from the safety of the rear, struggled to adapt to threats that seemed to come from everywhere at once. But it wasn't over. The Imperium still had numbers and raw power on their side. As Elena watched their ships regroup for another assault, she knew the next few hours would determine not just Earth's fate, but the future of their entire approach to galactic civilization. Would the galaxy continue under the Imperium's rigid order, or would humanity prove that innovation and cooperation were stronger than raw power? The answer would come soon enough. The Imperium's second wave was forming up, and this time they wouldn't underestimate Earth's defenses. The real test was about to begin. The second wave of the Vox Imperium's attack brought something new. Fear, not from the humans, but from the attackers themselves. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy's most powerful military force faced an enemy that didn't behave as expected. An enemy that turned their own strength against them. An enemy that learned. Elena Santos noticed it in the way their ships moved, more cautiously now, probing for weaknesses instead of charging forward with absolute confidence. The Imperium was adapting, but that played right into humanity's hands. The more they thought, the more they hesitated, the more they acted like humans. And humans had millennia of experience fighting other humans. They're splitting their forces. First, Light Dancing observed, her crystalline form reflecting tactical displays. A strategy we never saw them use before. They're learning, Elena replied, watching the enemy fleet divide into smaller, more manageable groups. But they're learning the wrong lessons. The Imperium had noticed how their large, concentrated formations made perfect targets for Earth's energy-absorbing shields and redirected weapons. Their solution was to spread out, to attack from multiple angles with smaller groups. It was a good strategy against their previous opponents, but humanity had spent its entire history fighting asymmetric wars. Execute Protocol Medusa, Elena commanded. Across the solar system, humanity's defensive grid shifted. The crystalline platforms that had been absorbing and redirecting energy didn't power down as the Imperium expected. Instead, they began to pulse with stored power from the first wave's attack. All that energy hadn't been wasted. It had been saved. Energy web initializing, the AI announced. Quantum entanglement field at maximum capacity. The Imperium ships found themselves caught in an invisible net of quantum-entangled energy fields. Their own power from the first attack turned into a trap. But that wasn't the real surprise. As their ships struggled against the energy web, humanity revealed its true innovation. The Meridian refugees, working with human scientists, had discovered something remarkable. Their crystalline biology could interface directly with human consciousness through the quantum field. While the Imperium had spent centuries using Meridian crystals as mere tools, humanity had found a way to create true symbiosis. Across Earth, thousands of human operators linked their minds with Meridian crystal interfaces. Each one became a node in a vast neural network, processing battlefield information at speeds no conventional computer could match. Human intuition and creativity, amplified by crystalline quantum processing, gave birth to something entirely new. The defensive platforms began to move with impossible precision, anticipating Imperium tactics before they executed them. Drone swarms flowed like liquid metal, responding to human thought at the speed of light. Even the energy web itself became an extension of human will, contracting and expanding to trap or redirect Imperium ships at crucial moments. Impossible. The Imperium commander's transmission crackled through the quantum static. Your species couldn't have mastered this level of crystal integration. The biological interface alone should have driven your primitive minds insane. Elena smiled as she connected to the command network through her own crystal interface. The sensation was like diving into an ocean of light and thought, where human consciousness flowed freely through crystalline pathways. You spent centuries trying to force the crystals to obey you. We asked them to work with us. That's the difference. The battle shifted into its final phase. The Imperium's divided forces found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere, their careful tactical doctrine useless against an opponent that could think and react as a single unified consciousness while maintaining the unpredictability of individual human minds. Ships that tried to retreat found their quantum drives interfered with by human-modified crystal technology. Those that pressed the attack faced weapons that adapted to their defenses in real time, guided by human intuition, enhanced by crystalline computing. The perfect order of the Imperium broke against the chaotic harmony of human innovation. But victory wasn't without cost. Each mind linked to the crystal network felt the strain of processing so much information. Defensive platforms burned out from channeling too much energy. Drone swarms were lost by the thousands. Yet for every resource lost, humanity adapted, finding new ways to use what remained more efficiently. As the battle reached its crescendo, Elena felt something through the crystal network, a sensation of awe from their Meridian allies. They had never imagined their technology could be used this way, had never dreamed of achieving such perfect synthesis between biological and crystalline consciousness. In trying to help humanity survive, they had discovered new aspects of their own potential. The Imperium fleet began to retreat, their remaining ships struggling to break free from the energy web. They had come expecting to find primitive savages hiding behind stolen technology. Instead, they had found something unprecedented. A species that didn't just adopt new technologies but transformed them, that faced overwhelming odds with innovation rather than surrender. But Elena knew this wasn't the end. The Imperium would return, with new tactics and technologies designed to counter what they'd seen today. That was fine. By then, humanity would have something new waiting for them, because that was the real human element, not the ability to win a single battle, but to constantly evolve, to face each new challenge with fresh ideas and unconquerable spirit. 6 months after the Battle of Seoul, as historians were already calling it, Dr. Elena Santos stood before the newly formed Galactic Council. The chamber, built from a harmonious blend of human and Meridian architecture, reflected the changes sweeping through known space. Representatives from dozens of species filled the hall, many of them former subjects of the Vox Imperium. The Imperium's defeat at Earth hadn't just been a military failure, it had shattered the foundation of their power. The knowledge that a pre-FTL civilization had not only resisted them, but innovated beyond their understanding, sparked a revolution in galactic thinking. More importantly, humanity's victory had been achieved not through superior firepower, but through cooperation and adaptation. "We've received another request for asylum," Elena's AI assistant reported, its voice carrying both human warmth and crystalline clarity. "The Zentari system is seeking Earth's protection from Imperium remnants." Elena nodded, studying the holographic display showing the rapidly changing map of galactic politics. The Imperium was fracturing, its member species remembering long-suppressed desires for independence. But unlike most collapsing empires, this one wasn't dissolving into chaos. Something new was taking shape. First Light Dancing, now Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council, approached Elena. The Meridian's crystalline form had evolved since their first meeting, incorporating elements of human design that allowed for more nuanced expression. "The Council is ready for Earth's proposal," she communicated, though some still doubt the wisdom of such rapid change. Elena understood their concern. Humanity wasn't proposing a simple transfer of power or the establishment of a new empire. They were suggesting something far more radical, a galactic civilization built on voluntary cooperation and cultural exchange. The human meridian hybrid technology that had defeated the Imperium was just the beginning. Let them doubt, Elena replied. That's the point, isn't it? Progress comes from questioning, from trying new approaches, from being willing to fail and learn. She took her place at the council podium, facing the assembled representatives of 100 worlds. The chamber's crystalline acoustics carried her voice clearly to every corner as she began Earth's proposal. The Imperium sought to impose order through force, she began. They saw diversity as a weakness to be eliminated, different approaches as threats to be suppressed. We proposed the opposite. Our victory came not from overpowering the Imperium, but from combining different perspectives to create something new. The holographic displays showed examples. Human neural networks merged with meridian crystal computing, creating artificial intelligences that could bridge the gap between organic and synthetic thought. Defensive systems that adapted like living things while maintaining mechanical precision. Ships that were grown rather than built, incorporating the best elements of multiple species technologies. But technology is only part of the equation, Elena continued. The real revolution is in how we approach problems. Earth offers its protection to any world that seeks independence from the Imperium, but we don't demand submission in return. Instead, we offer partnership. The proposal was ambitious, a network of allied worlds, each maintaining their own culture and governance, while sharing knowledge and resources. The hybrid technologies that had defended Earth would be shared, not hoarded. But more importantly, the principles that had created those technologies. Open collaboration, respect for different perspectives, the freedom to question and innovate, would become the foundation of a new galactic society. Some say this is naive, Elena acknowledged, seeing the skepticism on some faces. That without rigid control, chaos will reign. But Earth's history proves otherwise. Our greatest achievements came not from enforced harmony, but from the creative friction of different ideas coming together. She gestured to First Light Dancing and the other Meridian refugees who had helped save Earth. When we first encountered the Meridians, we could have seen them as simply a resource or a burden. Instead, we saw them as teachers and partners. Together, we created defenses that the Imperium couldn't overcome. Imagine what we could all create together. The council chamber erupted in discussion, hundreds of species debating humanity's proposal in their native tongues. But Elena noticed something important. They were talking to each other, not past each other. Species that had been isolated by Imperium policy were sharing ideas, finding common ground, imagining new possibilities. In the months that followed, the galaxy underwent a transformation more profound than any military conquest. The rigid hierarchies of the Imperium gave way to flexible networks of cooperation. Species that had been enemies under Imperium rule found they had more in common than they'd thought. The hybrid technologies that had defended Earth became the foundation for new forms of communication and collaboration. But perhaps the most significant change was in how the galaxy's species viewed themselves and each other. The Imperium had taught them to see differences as weaknesses, to value uniformity over creativity. Humanity had shown them another way. That strength could come from diversity, that innovation sprung from the combination of different perspectives. A year after the battle, Elena stood in the same lunar command center where they had fought off the Imperium. The displays now showed a very different solar system, a bustling hub of interstellar commerce and cultural exchange, where ships of 100 designs carried ideas and innovations between the stars. Was it worth the risk? First Light Dancing asked, her crystalline form reflecting Earth's light. When you first chose to shelter us. Elena watched a group of human and alien children playing in one of the Lunar Dome's parks, their laughter carrying through the crystalline walls. They were using toys that combined technologies from half a dozen worlds, creating games no single species could have imagined. That's the thing about mercy, Elena replied. Its true value isn't in what it costs us, but in what it teaches us about ourselves. When we chose to help you, we weren't just saving your people, we were showing ourselves who we could become. The galaxy was learning that lesson now, one world at a time. The age of enforced order was over. The age of creative chaos, of infinite possibility, had begun.